I thought today was a real productive day. I think a couple things with the first scrimmage of spring, and one is the competitive maturity piece, and the most pressurized, competitive spots to be your best authentic self. I think it's difficult and it takes some training to do, and you know I think one of the foundational things for that is that it's not defense versus offense, or it's not me versus you. It's me with you. It's me pushing you for you to get better, so that you can push me and maybe to a hard, difficult spot where I really have to excel to be able to take the next step individually and then collectively as a team. And I think I go back to last year and just we talked a fair amount about competitive maturity, but also about um, complementary football. And if the defense didn't start off great, offense would come and give it some juice, and defense would get going, or vice versa, just one side playing off the other side. For it to be that, we've got to build unit wise, do hard things, and we just don't want people getting in the way of us going in those hard spaces, doing those hard things with ego and all this other stuff. And so I thought we were able to do that really good. I think the other thing that kind of comes up with all of today is just crossing the bridge, and with our young people, with our freshmen and our sophomores and everything, and not being phased. I go back to last year, and we would practice in the indoor and practice on our grass fields there by Simpson, and do good things, and then we take it over here, get the show on the road to McLean, and it just would not be the same. And it was, bright lights and big city and all that, and there was none of that today. And so they full on attacked it. There's no pause or hesitation. So it's just way cool to see that. But with that, take any questions you guys got.
They brought the specialist out today. I guess you have to be pretty confident with so many veterans in that group.
Yeah, and their work ethic. I think they take an approach of always learning and always growing and really working to get better. And I think there's a healthy mindset there of being meticulous and being on point with details, but also having some compassion for the good days and the bad days, and kind of a bigger or a longer perspective than maybe just the short term, in the moment view. And so I appreciate that. I think it allows us to get better.
With Treston gone, who are you looking for in being your top return guys?
Yeah, there's a few. I think I think Squirrel has some ability there. I think we've got some receivers that have got the ability to do to make some moves there. I think a lot of that's wide open. I think that's a really good. I think there's some defenders, some skilled people that want to be able to get in on that too. I think they all see the opportunity that's there, and so I think that's something that maybe we started today, and then we'll have an idea here by next scrimmage, and then hopefully by the end of spring of kind of where that's at. But I think I think special teams on a whole were able to manage and get people where they need to be. It was the first a second really good versus good looks we have at this point with Ronnie at the helm, and so all of it was good. I look forward to answering that question with a few other ones as well.
Dave, what are you seeing right now with the competition between Gary and Blake and Matt?
I think Gary brings a kind of a calm and a confidence. I think Blake brings some energy and some spark. I think Gary brings big playability and kind of an aura of dominance. I think Blake brings a fighter mentality and I'll show you and all that. So I think all that's back and forth. I think the last 2 days have been Blake's best days, and so I think he is he has really competed and upped his game the last 2 days. And so excited to kind of see where that goes. I think today was a good showing, I think, by both.
I think you had mentioned, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you had mentioned that you were hoping to make a decision on your starter at the end of spring. Do you still believe that idea, or is that something that's still kind of now, it could take longer?
That really hasn't changed yet. I think ideally you'd like to have that you'd like to kind of know where your team is going into summer, but if it isn't that, then that's something that you have to deal with. We had to deal with that last year, but I think we know a little bit more about the guys this time around, and so I'm hopeful with the amount of competition that we're going to put in front of them that we'll have an idea of what's what.
Coach, you talked about how impressed you were by guys, practicing over there and then coming over here and keeping that level of competition and energy. How much do you think during a regular season, having the success that you guys did and playing in big moments like the Big 12 championship game and having big moments like the Sugar Bowl helps even in the spring when it comes to creating that big game feel for even a scrimmage?
I appreciate the question. I think a lot of the guys that did some of that are gone. There's a few that are still remaining. But I think collectively, though, it's the main takeaway is that that I can believe you, that I can trust what you say, that you know what you're talking about, whether that's to a player or to a coach. And so I think that would be the main takeaway, just based upon the examples that you give. But I think a lot of it is starting, individually, because I think there can be a collective kind of in the back, kind of nod your head or kind of superficially engage, and then, it be shallow enough to where nothing really changes in terms of an inner belief or confidence. So you have to kind of get down to where the real stuff is, and whether it's a lack of confidence or whether it's it's an over amount of confidence, or whether it's what is the disconnection, or where is the truth lie at. So as opposed to, so the danger with all that is that we can go to have all these practices and try to make it look good, as opposed to really, being concerned with what really is. And I think that's easy to fall prey to. And so to really get to what it is, and where guys have to be able to be held accountable for the energy that they bring, or the lack of communication that they bring, or here's someone doing the right things and rewarding that those things day after day, right, in hard spots, create the ability to do the things that you mentioned. And so I would look at it as starting all over, and saying, hey, we do have an idea of what we're saying, but we've got to start it over with this group and really work the beliefs of this crew. Because I think you get a lot of nodding heads a lot of times, which doesn't mean a whole lot.
Maybe today's response answers it the way that they brought it over here, but how do you feel about 2 weeks in with 3 weeks to go in spring?
Good. Today was a big day, because I think, I go, the lifting weights and our meetings and spring up to this point, all of it's really been good, but it's kind of been, the tests that we put ahead of them, they've all kind of knocked it out, and really haven't really been staggered in knocking it out. And I think today was, so when it's like that, you kind of are, where are things at? And a lot of questions were answered today. I think in terms of the biggest thing to me is are people taking care of other people and not making it a me and you thing. And that really allowed some other guys to have to dig deep. There's a bunch of deep breaths and wanting to put hands on hips, and then seeing a coach and then not doing it. So all that is way good to get into, right? When it's a 3rd and 2 or it's a 4th and 1, and that's training. That's a rep, and so appreciative of that.
Coach, how's Jackson Player fit in?
He's been very impressive. I think Jackson's been. I think the amount of technique and the kind of the detail and the accountability within the defense I think has been there's been an adjustment period for him. I think school and kind of the accountability all there with that has been an adjustment period for him. And so I think anytime you have change, I mean, change is difficult, and so there's been some of that. But I think to his credit, he has taken accountability for things and learned and has grown from the beginning, just a couple months ago to where he is now, and I think he's one of our best D linemen, and I would say at this point, post first scrimmage, some of the best performers. I think he would be at the top, if not the top of that list.
Dave, who would you say are maybe one or two position groups that really stood out to you today?
I think, I'd say O-line, D-line just as a collective one, and you would hope that with some of the people coming back. But I think, there was good line of scrimmage discipline. I think there was good, start, as well as, I'm going to throw the first punch. I'm going to set the tempo for this. And then there was a finish, I felt, at the end when, we've got someone staggered. Can we get them? Can we knock them down? And I thought there was the kind of awareness of that and the appreciation of that. So that was good. And then the second, the other position group I would say would be the receivers. I thought they did a really good job blocking. I thought you didn't see a bunch of drop passes. You saw runs after the catch. A lot of these are young guys, and so I credit Dallas Baker and the work he's doing, and Sean and Jeff, and it's exciting to see. We'll see where it goes.
Coach, when you have a quarterback competition, where's the happy medium between, hey guys, still learn from each other and talk to each other and help each other versus focus on you and go win that job and be the guy who can be the number one?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think a lot of that has to come from the position coach. I think Sean does a great job with that in terms of building community and building a sense of belonging. I think that you are more than just your performance. So I think that's kind of foundational to that, to what you're talking about. But then I think the other piece too would be, really being specific on people's strengths and weaknesses, and giving really honest feedback. And so there's no barriers. I think so much of the time between coaches and players is coaches say this and players hear that. Whether it's they hear what they want to hear, or they're inferring because there's a lack of trust, or just to be real clear with your communication on terms of, hey, this is where it's at. This is what I need to see. This is what you're doing. I think when there's a belief that is happening, then you can feel like I'm part of, and you can start to enjoy the moment and really be present in your snaps, but also be present in the others and cheer those guys on. And so we're getting that. It's been impressive to see.
What did you think about Pro Day on Wednesday? Just the amount of teams that were out here and all the prospects you guys have.
Yeah, I was impressed by it. The previous Pro Day, I remember being off the side with Terrell and Petey saying, this is, you see where it's at now, right? We can take it further than this, and I give credit to those guys and all the rest of them, for doing that. I think, we had all the teams here. There's a bunch of scouts that came by and said that, David, we had never seen like a whole team come out and cheer on the guys that were going through it, And so they said, I think about 6 or 7 scouts came and said that I think they said maybe Cincinnati was like that, but that was the only one. And so, it was, we had a fair amount. We had to make sure that they weren't skipping school to do that. But we had a lot of guys there, man, and it was cheering and chanting and all that, and so it was pretty cool. I thought, the guys, but I mean that's how it's been the whole time, though. And so it was cool that at the end of it, it was the same as it ever was.